Okay. Hey everyone. This is ACDC number 156. It is issue 1490 in the Ethereum PM repo. I'll paste a link there in the chat. And yeah, today's call might be pretty short. I think the main topic on everyone's mind at the moment is Pectra. So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive into Pectra then. So the first thing, we did have a mainnet shadow fork. Does anyone have any updates yet? I'm not sure who that was. Did you want to share your screen? Okay. Anyway, um, anyone have any updates on the mainnet shadow fork? Perry couldn't make it, but I did have an async update. And he said, yeah, the update is that the mainnet shadow fork went mostly fine. There were some deposit problems on some clients, but it's due to the shadow fork config and can't happen on mainnet. Also, another nice thing is that Gnosis forked Pectra yesterday. It seems like everything went well there. Any, yeah, Barnabas?
Yeah, sorry, I tried to turn on my mic before. So basically, yeah, the main issue for went kind of as expected. We use the same deposit contract address as we use for mainnet, and this is what caused all the issues. So in previous shadow forks, this has not happened because we were using a custom deposit contract address, and that's why it didn't happen in previous shadow forks. So
Gotcha.
basically what was wrong with previous forks in, for example, in Holsky is what made this one break, basically. So the whole deposit queue had to be reprocessed and invalidated by every consensus layer client, and different client different client teams acted differently, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it sounds like this is kind of a known issue and we can still proceed as planned. So then speaking of, I was just trying to get the announcement blog post. So yeah, I assume at this point everyone has the right client version there. It's a bit late in the game if you don't, but yeah, I guess just please raise a hand if that needs to change. Otherwise, yeah, one final reminder for our instant response plan here. And I think at this point we have info for everyone except maybe Grandina. Um, Solius, are you interested in joining this?
Sorry, I missed. Could
Because
you?
you're here.
Yeah, yeah. Could you
Yeah,
repeat?
yeah, we were just having point people per client in the event something
Uh,
goes wrong with the fork, and say there's an issue with Grandine.
Oh,
We
yeah,
know who to
yeah,
get in touch with.
yeah. No problem. I'll put the persons in the list.
Okay, great, thank you.
On Lighthouse, we released 7.0.1 yesterday, which it helps in some cases with state cache misses. So I think we'd have a slight preference for using that on the release page, but it's not like hugely mandatory. It affects some users.
Gotcha. Okay. That update should be pretty easy to make. So yeah, I'll make sure that happens. Okay, Terrence, would you like is this 601 on top of 60?
Yeah, so we'll release 6.0.1 today, which has two primary bug fixes that helps in terms of like reorg. So previously, if a beacon node reorg or like across epoch boundary, the duty changes, but then the validator client will not be able to adjust to this change. So we fixed that in the latest release after thorough testing, and then we fixed a payload attribute event streaming endpoint issue over the weekend as well. This is to help the layer and the builder monitoring the event feed. So we fixed 2 bugs, and those will be on top of 6.0.1. It's not mandatory, it's a nice to have, but we just want to put this out there. People want to upgrade, can upgrade, and those will be released today.
Okay, great. Yeah, sounds like we might want to hold off on changing the blog unless it's critical. Yeah, so either way, I can
So
circle back with.
one thing we can do on the blog that's pretty easy is just say, version X or later or something. So if the Lighthouse and Prism one are that, like, you're still fine with some people running the old release, I feel like that's probably the right language. Otherwise, like, yeah, we can strike the old release and yeah, just move on. But those would be my 2 options. Either we move it to like X or later, or just strike the old one and add the new one. Just send me a DM and I will get the change done. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And yeah, otherwise, anything else for Pectra? The fork is next week in a few days. So yeah, exciting. This has been a big one, and I'm at least excited for it to happen. I hope most of you are as well. Yeah, anything else? Otherwise, yeah, we'll move on to the next agenda items. Okay. So then next we have Fusaka. Again, a little light today on the agenda here with Fusaka. There were some issues with PureDOS DevNet 6, which I think we had said we would plan to base Fusaka DevNet 0 on. That being said, yeah, 6 had some issues, and the decision was basically just to scrap it, move to 7 with those bug fixes. Any updates on that? I think people have been quite busy with Pectra, so I think it's been a little slow on the PureDOS side.
I could give an update. So
Oh, sure.
basically, we we are considering of delaying the possible launch of DevNet 7 till post Spectra updates. So once more people could focus on. In the meantime, we have this inside lab DevNet up and running. And yeah, ideally, we want clients to work on their fixes, like their sync issues. Multiple client teams have indicated that they are currently working on fixing their sync, and they haven't even had time to look into validator custody. So ideally, from our side, we would prefer if validator custody and syncing would be the base of DevNet 7. So if any client teams would be ready to go with that, then we could launch. But I feel like everyone is still work in progress for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense in terms of the feature set for DevNet 7. Anything we should discuss now for syncing issues, or is it more specific to each client and just something they need to work through?
So Lighthouse has a couple issues. Jimmy mentioned that it might actually be useful for us to have DevNet 7 running for us to work through debugging. He mentioned it's a bit easier to work with the fpanda ops DevNets versus the Sunnyside DevNets. So yeah, some feedback there.
I mean, we can most definitely launch one. I just wasn't sure if client teams are like working offline on figuring out these syncing issues with like kurtosis, or if they're working on if it would be useful to have DevNet 7, then we most certainly can have it up and running.
Yes, for Lighthouse, I would say DevNet 7 would be useful.
And Terrence had a question, is there a DevNet 7 spec I believe I've seen a hackmd, but I don't know how up to date it is with, say, the syncing and validator custody changes as part of the spec.
Yeah, so we were considering that validator custody shouldn't be part of Devnet 6. And the reason to that was that it's basically a change that wouldn't affect too many things, especially with supernodes around the network. But we also noticed that during Devnet 6, it might have caused all the issues because some clients were reporting that they had a specific subnet, but in actuality they didn't have it, or they had struggled serving specific subnets. So yeah, I'm not sure. Everyone seems to say that validator custody is still weeks away. So if that is the case, then maybe we need to have a way to disable validator custody on clients that have it working, or I'm not really sure. Like I would only want to include validator custody in this if we have like confirmed that that specific client version is actually working and not like a forked, like half-assed implementation.
One thing I want clarification when we have the spec is the whether to include the new data column sidecars by root change. I think before we just had it as like a single UE64 column index, but now we change it to a list of index with max blobs per sidecar 128 or something like that as the cap. So I think that changes things. We need some sort of like a consensus on whether that should be indefinite 7 or not. So I hope the spec will reflect that. But yeah, we don't have to discuss so much of it for this call. But yeah, I'm hoping to see that in the spec.
How critical is that change for, say, fixing the sync or any other part?
It's not at all, but then say if one client implements it but other client doesn't
Yeah,
implement it, then they cannot talk to
yeah,
each other.
right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so in short, there's not a DevNet 7, but that's something we can do very soon. And we can, yeah, be specific about which of these things go in.
Also, do we expect to have a new consensus spec release coming soon?
We'll do that the morning or the same day as mainnet upgrade. So like 2 hours after that happens.
And would that also include the fix for the minimal spec stuff?
Yeah, that's already been merged. So yeah.
Okay. Have all the ACL clients had the time to take a look at that PR? Because it would be great to be able to start testing peer death with minimal preset in local configs.
Which PR are you talking about exactly?
Oh, I
Was
was
it this request
talking
for
about
payload?
the load stop PR actually.
Yeah, I was asking Barnabas which PR or Justin. Was it
Yeah,
the
one
request for
sec.
payload or was it something for
It was
PRDOS?
for minimal spec, fixing the minimal spec execution payload stuff.
I'll get a
I
link
will
one
dig up the
second.
PR. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 4291.
Yes, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
okay. Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So yeah, this is the one they're talking about, and it sounds like maybe not everyone's looked at this yet. What was the issue here? Just for a summary for everyone here.
Okay, I can give a quick summary. Let me look at the PR. Second. In the consensus specs in the config, we had 3 like requests per payload configuration values, and these are different for the minimal configuration, but the EL didn't know about this per se because the EL doesn't have like a minimal config. So when we change this, the EL would still send more requests than the CL wanted, and it would just break things.
Okay. Well, so is this a Pectra thing or a Fusaka thing?
This is technically a Pectra thing, but it's
Okay.
not. I mean, it's just minimal spec.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done much minimal spec testing before. But yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, no,
it's
I
very
thought,
nice to have.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you were just saying somehow this is related to the pure dust Devnet, but I got you now.
Would it be okay for client teams to wait for this next consensus spec release and then target that for period of 7?
we want to do DevNet 7 and minimal.
We don't need to do that for minimal, but yeah, I
But
don't know
so,
if there's any other changes that will hit in the meantime.
okay. I would also like to get more eyes on the consensus specs blob schedule PR. I just shared a link. If more client teams could review this and give approval, I would like to merge it soon. Thank you.
Oh yeah, would this be then part of the next release also?
For DevNet 7, or it would, if we
Yeah.
merge it soon, it would be
Yeah.
part of the next release, but I'm not sure if it should be part of DevNet 7 specs, because it might not be such a simple change.
Yeah, I think it would make sense. It depends on if we do a DevNet 8 or not, but given that we kind of deprecated 6, I could see doing 7 with the 6 fixes and then 8 with this. And then from there we go to Fusaka DevNet 0.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want as well.
Okay. I also don't think people have the bandwidth to make that call today, but we will pick it up after Pectra. Let me check Barnabas. Beta 5 is what we have right now, or yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what
it's,
we have as of 3 weeks ago, I think. So then
yeah,
6 was targeting beta 4.
So yeah, beta 5 plus probably the request PR that Terrence was talking about, the data column by root requests change.
okay. Let's provisionally say that, and we can address this on the next Parados breakout to dial it in. Barnabas, I can, there we go. Thanks, Justin. Cool. So, assuming there's nothing else super timely for Parados, then that was the agenda today. I'm fine to wrap up early. Everyone is very busy with Pectra, and I think it makes sense to focus on that. Yeah, Ben?
Well, two other items on the agenda. Yeah.
Okay.
Fusaka CFI. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Don't worry.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Um,
that was last call.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was all I had. Yeah, if there's anything else that we'd like to discuss that is on topic, we can. We are not going to discuss EOF turns and otherwise. We'll wrap up today and people can focus on Pectra Mainnet. Let's hope it goes smoothly. So, anything else? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Okay. Happy Pectra, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Bye.